What is good, YouTube? Quinn Wade basketball analysis coming to y'all with playoff reactions 9. We're going to talk about the Washington Wizards avoiding the sweep. Russell Westbrook was able to impact the game with his assists, attacking and keeping the ball flying around the court in transition. I said one of the biggest reasons why the Wizards could win the game, if they would win the game, would be them running the ball. They got a lot of opportunities that was easy because they got that rebound and they just flew down the court, got layups, got dunks, and it was more loose. It was more free. And that was the key to them winning. Not only was Joel Embiid out, that was a bigger reason because it allowed them to get the rebounds. It allowed them to attack the paint without having somebody there because Dwight Howard had foul trouble and he just can't score and dominate the game and put a lot of pressure on guys like Lopez and Gaffer one-on-one because he's not an offensive player that Joel Embiid is. And on top of that, he can't shoot the three in the mid-range that Joel Embiid can also do. So he's a significant downgrade. And you got to give credit to the Wizards. They literally had chances in this game where they could have lost or they could have blew it and got swept. But they kept they tempo, they kept their pace. I feel like Bradley Beal made some smart decisions and made some tough shots. But that's why you pay him the big money. That's why he's an all-star. That's why he's an all-NBA player this year because he can create his own shot and knock down tough ones. Russ was better. He still couldn't make a shot to save his life, but he knocked down his free throws and still was aggressive, and that's a plus. You know, he missed the free throw in the end, but the game was over at that point. But this is the Russ that they needed. I know he still needs to make a higher percentage of his shots, but Russ he hasn't been able to do that really ever in his career in the playoffs, and that has continued. But getting to the free throw line is another way to score points, and he was able to get there so much this game that it just gave them that extra boost and that extra cushion to where they can ride it to a victory. I liked it that the Sixers switched it up a little bit with Maxey. He was more aggressive. Tobias missed some easy ones. Furkan Korkmaz had an easy, wide open three that probably could have helped Philly take the game, but he missed it. But he hit another one that really kept them in the game and allowed them to have an opportunity to win it too. Danny Green had some big threes, but just couldn't pull it together enough. And Ben Simmons, he missed a couple free throws, made a couple, but it never hurted them as they still had a legitimate shot of winning. It just the Wizards came to play. They played at home, and they didn't want to go home and stay home, so they was able to win. Rui hit some big shots with the mid-range and the threes that he hit, especially the three that sealed the game. I told them that he needed to be amazing. He needed to be a jump shooter and a guy that can create a little bit to help Russ and Bradley Beal out offensively, and he did that tonight. You also got to say, where's Davis Bertans? This was a guy that they really thought could be a huge piece to their team, a guy that can space the floor and be a pesky defender. His defense hasn't been there. His offense hasn't been there this entire series, and he didn't really impact the game at all. They're going to need a whole lot more out of them if they want to stay alive. Joel Embiid was a big reason why they won this game, and even then they still had opportunities when they could have lost this game still, but they took advantage of it. They beat them in the paint real bad and even on the boards. You have to give a lot of credit to Daniel Gafford. Finished well around the rim. Also was able to knock down his free throws. Also was able to protect the paint, getting a lot of blocks and a lot of contests at the rim. Scott Brooks rewarded him by starting him, and he really was a big difference maker in this game. And that's why you make the trade for him. That's why you start him. And he delivered with one of the best games, if not the best game of his career in the playoffs when it matters the most. Because if they lose this game, their season is over. And he did pretty well. Robin Lopez hit some big shots too. Some blocks, some finishes, and some quick hooks that really kept them alive when their offense was dead. I think you got to bring that in there. And Neto hit some big threes, had a little space, hit some layups, and got some stops. And they needed him to play bigger because, you know, like I said, Davis and those guys wasn't ready. and Neto had one of his better games and was really crucial to them being able to pick up the W. The Memphis series is still the same. Not really nothing crazy to say about it. Ja Morant has been a little bit more aggressive. He's been getting his floaters off a little bit more clean than he did in the fourth quarter of last game. He's going to have to continue to knock down those to put pressure on Gobert to pick. Do we want to give up the dump to a center like Jonas, who can also hit hooks and floaters, and it just makes it tougher for Gobert to pick his poison. They have to do that because they have to find high efficient offense, and they can do it by putting pressure on Gobert and forcing him to make a decision. Do he want to sag off and force a tough floater, or do he want to give up the paint even more? And Gobert has conceded the floaters. Ja Morant, Dylan Brooks, and those guys are going to have to continue to make him pay for that decision by knocking him down. The three-point shooting has still been a discrepancy. Utah still is shooting a lot of threes and making a lot of them, and they also are probing. They are tearing down threes, attacking the paint, dumping it off to Favors or Gobert, or kicking it out to a Bogdanovich or Ingles, a Donovan Mitchell, a Mike Conley, a Jordan Clarkson. I like that offense where they're always in attack if they don't have the three, but they all are patient and real good shooters from three. So it really forces you to decide, what do you want to give up to? And if they're going to shoot more threes and make them at a high efficiency, it's really doomed at the end of the day for the Grizzlies. And the best thing to do is try to force Gobert to make free throws. But even then, they can take him out and still spread the floor out and still kill him by three because the Memphis Grizzlies don't make enough of them, and that's been a problem. Jaren Jackson was a lot better from three in the first half. They're going to need him to do a lot more of that to space the floor, and he's going to have to knock them down consistently if they want to win more games in this series. And Dylan Brooks got to stay out of foul trouble, and he has to continue to attack, from not just settling for push jumpers and threes. He got to continue to attack the paint and knock down floaters too to force Gobert in some tough situations, but also keep him in foul trouble. If they can keep Gobert off the court, that helps rebounding, that allows more offensive rebounding, and that allows them to have an easier way for Ja Morant to get to the paint and all the way to the rim without taking a tough contested shot or having to rethink how he attacks because Gobert is there in the paint. And that can be a strong thing for them if they want to win this series or win more games in this series. But other than that, Utah basically can do whatever they want to the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies really has no answer for the Jazz offense. It's really about, can the Jazz make their threes and if they can make their floaters and layups. If the Jazz continue to run the same stuff that's been working all series and continue to, pass the ball, keep it moving if the shot ain't there, they can continue to punish the Jazz for either helping too much, being late on rotations, or closing out stupidly like they've been doing. And if that continues to happen, those are high quality, efficient shots. And if they get a lot of high quality, efficient shots with good 3-point shooters and good floater and finishers, it's really going to be tough seeing the Grizzlies winning this series. And that's the reason why they're trailing now. And that's the reason why they can ultimately lose. It's no easy thing for them to do. They just have to be more smarter, communicate better, and execute way better offensively. But with the lack of spacing and the lack of 3-point shooting and still being young and still being antsy, the Jazz are really punishing them for every mistake with their wit, their togetherness, and just their IQ. They just way too smart and are way ahead of the play. As soon as a Jazz player make a decision, they already know what to do, when to do it, and it's just about them finishing the play by making a shot or making the right pass to get the right shot and knocking it down. And that's what it boils down to. Can the Jazz make enough shots 2 more games? And if they do, they can finish the series at home and, get ready for the second round. Donovan Mitchell needs to continue to be aggressive and stop settling for jump shots. These guys foul a lot. These guys can't guard him, especially when he's getting screens for Gobert and Favors and those guys. He has to continue to be aggressive. Same with Jordan Clarkson. Don't settle for jump shots all the time. Mix it up and continue to attack the paint. they don't really have great rim protectors in Memphis. So you have to put pressure on their guys just like they're doing to Gobert and force them to make decisions or just continue to keep Jonas in foul trouble. That takes another great offensive player that the Jazz need off the court. Plus, it forces them to use Jaren Jackson more in the paint, which he is a foul-happy guy too, and also not the strongest guy, so you can get more space by creating it with contact. And if he doesn't foul, you can get a decent look at the basket, and that can really help the Jazz open up leads and give them a cushion to close out the Grizzlies. We just have to see what happens as the series continue. Other than that, Quinn Wade basketball analysis. This is my reactions to the 2 games today. Let me know what I got right, what I got wrong. Let me know if you're happy the Wizards ain't getting swept. Are you concerned about the Sixers? Because Joel Embiid has always been a health problem, even in the playoffs, and he has another injury in the playoffs where they could have swept and got rest by finishing them off. And since they didn't, now the series is going to be longer. Now Joel Embiid might be a little bit more hampered and gimpy going into the next series, and that could be a huge reason why they could lose and not make it to the conference finals, something that Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid hasn't done, regardless of the coach and the supporting cast they have putting around them. They have never been in the conference finals, and that's a monkey they definitely have to get off their back eventually, especially with Joel Embiid having his best season and a dominant series on both ends of the court against the Wizards. Other than that, I'll be back hopefully tomorrow with my reactions of the game for tomorrow.